Sahih al-Bukhari 2391. Narrated Hudhaifa. I heard the Prophet saying, once a man died and was asked, "What did you used to say, or do, in your lifetime?" He replied, "I was a businessman and used to give time to the rich to repay his debt and used to deduct part of the debt of the poor." So he was forgiven his sins. Abu Mas'udi said, I heard the same hadith from the Prophet. Sahih al-Bukhari 2392. Narrated Abu Huraira. A man came to the Prophet and demanded a camel. The Prophet owed him. Allah's Messenger told his companions to give him a camel. They said, "We do not find except an older camel than what he demands." The Prophet ordered them to give him that camel. The man said, "You have paid me in full and may Allah also pay you in full." Allah's Messenger said, "Give him, for the best amongst the people is he who repays his debts in the most handsome manner." Sahih al-Bukhari 2393. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet owed a camel of a certain age to a man who came to demand it back. The Prophet ordered his companions to give him. They looked for a camel of the same age but found nothing but a camel 1 year older. The Prophet told them to give it to him. The man said, "You have paid me in full, and may Allah pay you in full." The Prophet said, "The best amongst you is he who pays his debts in the most handsome manner." Sahih al-Bukhari 2394. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah. I went to the Prophet while he was in the mosque. Mas'ar thinks that Jabir went in the forenoon. After the Prophet told me to pray 2 rakat, he repaid me the debt he owed me and gave me an extra amount. Sahih al-Bukhari 2395. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah. My father was martyred on the day of the Battle of Uhud, and he was in debt. His creditors demanded their rights persistently. I went to the Prophet and informed him about it. He told them to take the fruits of my garden and exempt my father from the debts, but they refused to do so. So, the Prophet did not give them my garden and told me that he would come to me the next morning. He came to us early in the morning and wandered among the date palms and invoked Allah to bless their fruits. I then plucked the dates and paid the creditors, and there remained some of the dates for us. Sahih al-Bukhari 2396. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah. When my father died he owed a Jew 30 asik of dates. I requested him to give me respite for repaying but he refused. I requested Allah's Messenger to intercede with the Jew. Allah's Messenger went to the Jew and asked him to accept the fruits of my trees in place of the debt, but the Jew refused. Allah's Apostle entered the garden of the date palms, wandering among the trees, and ordered me, saying, "Pluck the fruits and give him his due." So, I plucked the fruits for him after the departure of Allah's Apostle and gave his 30 asik, and still had 17 asik extra for myself. Jabir said, I went to Allah's Messenger to inform of what had happened, but found him praying the Asr prayer. After the prayer I told him about the extra fruits which remained. Allah's Messenger told me to inform Umar ibn al-Khattab about it. When I went to Umar and told him about it, Umar said, "When Allah's Messenger walked in your garden, I was sure that Allah would definitely bless it." Sahih al-Bukhari 2397. Narrated Aisha. Allah's Messenger used to invoke Allah in the prayer saying, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from all sins, and from being in debt." Someone said, "O Allah's Messenger, I see you, very often you seek refuge with Allah from being in debt." He replied, "If a person is in debt, he tells lies when he speaks, and breaks his promises when he promises." Sahih al-Bukhari 2398. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "If someone leaves some property, it will be for the inheritors, and if he leaves some weak offspring, it will be for us to support them." Sahih al-Bukhari 2399. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "I am closer to the believers than themselves in this world and in the hereafter, and if you like, you can read Allah's statement, the Prophet is closer to the believers than their own selves." 33.6 So, if a true believer dies and leaves behind some property, it will be for his inheritors, from the father's side, and if he leaves behind some debt to be paid or needy offspring, then they should come to me as I am the guardian of the deceased. Sahih al-Bukhari 2400. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, procrastination, delay, in repaying debts by a wealthy person is injustice.